Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom Hazard, to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Purchasing Truth. I'm Tom Hazard, along with your host, Bill Stierle. And, Bill, we cannot ignore the elephant in the room, or shall we say the elephant on Capitol Hill, of the impeachment that's going on, the impeachment hearings, right?
Yes, that's so true, Tom. The biggest challenge with purchasing truth, or in this case, purchasing impeachment, is who's going to cultivate the talking points that are going to stick and have legs and last. And that's the thing to get a hold of in communication is that how does the communication that one's deliver affect the person's brain in order to create a emotional response and therefore be a lasting imprint inside them, because most people don't really struggle with the filter of here's this information and how they take it, because regrettably people would prefer to hear a message that they're familiar with and or a message that validates their belief or their point of view. Does that make some sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so when we look at the hearings right now, we can see that there is one side is striving for truth, the other side is grasping for some messages that they can utilize to validate their point of view. Do you see the difference, Tom?
I do, and I see it happening. I see they're amplifying, or maybe to use your words, they're proportionalizing it to make it seem like the only thing that matters, whatever soundbite they can find that's going to fit their preferred narrative.
That's correct. It's a soundbite. It's a visual clip. It is an experience of something that takes place that is something that they would like to amplify, and then they put out that message to amplify something that is has a reality to it, but really there's a counter reality that is larger than the reality that they're amplifying. So it's like, hey, I'm saying, look at this little thing I did, little things. Oh yeah, there's this big thing over here that I don't want you to look at, but I want you to look at the little thing. So
Well, it's very interesting. So I think it was after the second day of testimony, maybe, or maybe the first day
yeah.
of testimony. I don't remember, but I saw a report where there was the sound bites from every Republican member of the committee saying the same three things over and over and over. And it was no quid pro quo, no bribery. And now, honestly, I don't remember what the third thing was.
Right.
But they've been they asked a question, they each asked questions a certain way to say, did you see anyone mention quid pro quo? Did anybody ever say that to you? No. Okay, so no quid pro quo. Did anybody ever say bribery to you? Have you heard that word? As if in order for it to be bribery, you actually would have to hear somebody say the word. I mean, I don't think that lines up with truth very well either, but
No,
they
not so
kept
much.
amplifying. So no bribery, no quid pro quo. So they amplify this point, and then Ambassador Sondland, in his opening statement, says, was there a quid pro quo? Yes. I mean, very plainly, yeah, there was.
Yeah, there was.
And so much for that talking point.
Yeah. So the truth of the talking point is not what's going to get amplified to certain groups of listeners. See, If I want to effectively utilize a campaign to enlist somebody to buy soap,
Okay.
and notice I'm taking a quick right turn here, and is that if I want them to buy my soap, gosh, I want to get them to imagine what it's going to look like when they get this lathery, silky type smooth finish, and how it's going to smell and how good it is that this soap will do the thing that it does. And oh, by the way, tell the public that I told Zelensky that I did to do the right thing, that I didn't want to quid pro quo. Yes, Trump might have said that once to
Ah,
Sondland. And
after he
now,
got caught, of course, after he got caught actually doing a quid pro quo. But I'm sorry, continue.
but I'm glad that you interrupted me, because the
So rudely.
truth, I'm glad you interrupted me, because the truth doesn't have a relationship to the field of time. Let me say it this way.
Yes.
When you're validating a point of view or a belief, it don't matter what came before or after the thing. It's like, oh yeah, well, this was his free pass. Everybody makes mistakes, and he said it, and he then took it back. So he's still a good guy, right? Because I voted for him. See, the timeline is problematic, because one of the things that we look for in any kind of truth telling is that where does it sit in the field of time? And as well as, did the person really make a change from that moment? So for example, if let's just do a complete compassionate, well, not compassionate, let's do a benefit of the doubt, and then we'll do the compassion part. The benefit of the doubt would be, didn't know anything about it. It was offered to me. I then called him on the phone and said, gosh, there's one thing I'd like for you to do for me, though.
Right.
That sends it out there.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like a tragic deal that you just put, and there's a little arm twisting bribery that took place in that, not really huge. Then after that, no quid pro quo. I have a phone call after that and say, no, I didn't really want it to be taken that way. And then I learn from that, and then don't do it again. I could give a human being a pass to put their foot in a pile of crap and go like, oh man, I really didn't mean to say it that way. And I take it back, and man, I am not doing that again.
Yeah, well.
Regrettably, in the field of time, literally, Trump actually put his foot back in the crap by saying on the lawn, hey, what do you think he should have done out of that thing? Well, what he needed to do was open up the investigation on Biden, because not only that, he did something in China too. It's like,
right. He hasn't learned. He hasn't walked anything back. He will never do anything where he has to admit he made a mistake.
Yes.
And it's, yeah, he just
so let's not make it wrong. Let's make it tragic. Okay. Because that's the easy way to do it. The easy way to have a healthy discourse and not affect our adrenaline and cortisol and get anger moving and stuff like that. The easiest way to do it is going like, gosh, I'm guessing that guy is running some beliefs about what male power looks like, or what power in businesses look like. And, his dad might have whispered the sentence in his way, dad, son, never show you're weak, and never admit that you made something wrong, and just really just trying to stay with it and then just move on. And you will continue to gain respect if you keep doing that. Because look what I did. His dad might have gave him that tragic message. Now we're living under the suffering pain of a tragic belief structure called, it's okay to do quid pro quos in government. It's not okay. Now, you can do some of that stuff in business, and you're not going to get dinged by it too much, as we've learned by cannibal capitalism. Yeah, I'll move my plant to Mexico, and And yeah, it's going to kill an American city, but who cares? Because, I need to, by law, get my shareholders the greatest return because that's what the law says I need to do for them. And it's okay to kill an American city if I do that.
Well, and certainly in that context, and in most business contexts, or let me rephrase that, in many business contexts, making a deal where if I leave my plant here in your American city, you're going to give me a big tax break
Yes.
is perfectly legal and acceptable.
Yes.
But in the context of holding back foreign aid to the tune of $400 million Congress appropriated from a country that desperately needs it in order, in an official public capacity, foreign policy of the United States, holding that back in exchange for a foreign leader doing you a personal political favor to help you win an election is expressly prohibited.
Yeah.
So, and against the law, obviously, to
Gets
be
a lot.
plain.
And there's I think there's a I think there's a governor right now sitting in jail for doing something like this, but not from a foreign country, but actually taking a bribe from someone else. I think that I just saw a news article about this, not a clip about this guy who's literally sitting in jail because he took this kind of bribe to get back in office and blah blah blah, right? So
Yeah.
so the thing to capture, Tom, is also what are the Republicans doing here? They're looking for talking points.
They're
That's
looking
all. That's all
for
they're looking
anything
for.
to avoid admitting the hard truth that I think they all know is causing them trouble. Yeah. What can they talk about?
So give me something. So the thing that the Republicans again are trying to look to do is how do I support the message of strength for my party because this is my party. It's an advocacy for a party ahead of truth. So the over the last 30 years, the Republicans have struggled with this identity versus truth. They've struggled with this. And the reason why they've struggled with this is they've flopped America as second to party. And America is a small a for them. Republican is a large R for them. So whereas the Democrats are do their best to hold respect, make it a capital D. But when it comes to America, they still are making America a capital A. And they're trying to keep the relationship with that because as soon as they flop on making America a small a, then all kinds of other problems show up. Now, they don't want to get caught in that. So they're being very careful with not being cast as and getting stuck in the mud when there is a ranting in that direction of, here's what we got to watch out for with the liberals, because no matter who that messenger is that tries to change the small r, small r, small d, small big R, big D, small a, big A, America as first. If I want to, the slogan is America first. That's the slogan. It looks like it's a big A, but that's not what it is. It's Republican financial values and the ability to have choice at the expense of America. That's what the Democrats are going to be struggling with language wise. is because there's an appearance that there is a large A, America with respect, America great again. I want the America of the past. It's really hard to get America from the past because we're not in the 1950s or 60s. We're not there.
It is hard, but what's been interesting in these impeachment hearings, and especially the most recent one with Dr. Fiona Hill testifying about the seriousness of our foreign policy and about, you know, Ukraine, and both I think the people that testified most recently, Fiona Hill, and now I'm forgetting the other gentleman, but these are career foreign policy, nonpartisan people that are like, this is America's defense against the Russians that is being thrown to the side for a political errand, right? For this personal favor, and so much damage there. It's to me, I'm starting to see how the current administration is little a America, not big A America first, for sure.
Yeah, that's a great catch. That's right. That's right. And the thing to capture is that we want to keep empathy and compassion for the motive. The motive is, how can I meet the need for financial security or affluence for my donors? How can I stand for the values that are not in alignment with overall American values, yet promote them as, hey, those regulations, those are really bad things. Well, until it kills 300 and 400 people because you reduce the regulations and you underfunded stuff. Yeah, then there's a problem with it. So,
Well, and there was
yeah.
even dramatic testimony most recently, and it's going to kill me. I'm gonna look it up while we're talking here. But the gentleman testifying today, most recently with Fiona Hill at her side, is Holmes. His name is Holmes.
Oh, yeah, sure, sure.
And he's been talking about, he's been getting, you know, updates, calls from, I mean, this guy has been living in the Ukraine. That's where he does his work. He's on the ground, a diplomat, and he has said that David Holmes has said in recent days he's heard that, you know, 2 more people died at the front line between Ukraine and Russia, and, you know, 7 more people got injured and all this, and you know, he made it very clear that this isn't some theoretical or, you know, philosophical battle. It's also actual people and blood and lives at stake, and how much damage has been done, you know, for
Yeah.
countries that now don't don't have the feeling that America, big A, is with them and backing them because of things like, anyway, I could go on and on that, but
Well, notice how it touches inside you, your need to respect life and protect life. Look at how your consideration and your concern for another human being has been activated, and you're going to feel aggravated and helpless. You're going to feel furious and exasperated because this is real thing. This is not, Sondland testifying and in kind of a light, confident way, going like, yeah, there was a kid, so what is it, what's that about? I mean, the um when life is um and the rule of law is at risk, you tend to want to take those things just a tad bit more seriousness and go like, yeah, that's the way I taught, he loves your ass. It's like, really? And you're going to
yeah.
take it as light as the loss of life in that way. And when people become removed and lose the humility of that, and it's not to say that we don't want as a capitalist nation, to be able to nurture affluence for people and for all people, or at least a chance to, move up and move through and have some extraordinary experiences in their lives rather than get stuck in the drudgery. And and when an America doesn't care for its people fully and only cares for a small portion, or the system only cares for a small portion of the people, here's when it gets really junky. It sounds more like Russia than it does like
Well,
America.
and this is the thing that really spoke to me most recently is, while certainly I have empathy and compassion for these Ukrainian citizens fighting for their lives over there, some people might hear me say that and say, well, don't you care about Americans? What about America first? Well, okay, I get that. But here's the thing that was illuminated very brightly by Dr. Fiona Hill in her testimony is that the in the conspiracy theories that the Republicans have been amplifying in these hearings, in creating doubt and skepticism that actually Russia was the one that meddled in the 2016 elections to help one side and hurt the other in our election, but that Ukraine actually did it. First of all, I learned hearing her speak and about her credibility. She's worked in Russia. She's been in foreign service for, decades here, and it is the authority, and said it was not Ukraine. That's been debunked. It had nothing to do with Ukraine. It was Russia, and Russia is trying to do it again. They are still doing it. And this very impeachment hearing, what has brought us here today, is
Right.
exactly what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
and to further divide us. So for protecting America is, from foreign intervention, to me, is as important as, anything else that, we talk about here. So anyway, and I would
No, wait,
think,
just yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's the,
yeah,
so as you're going down that line, you're literally like hitting the topic of this podcast, which is purchasing impeachment.
right,
We're purchasing, because the impeachment is giving an extended narrative of division. That is what's being purchased here. Therefore, the truth is being amplified that we are divided. That's what the truth that's being purchased. And that truth is winning for the Russians because the divided people can't make decisions for themselves, which leaves an authoritarian at the top to do whatever they want, whenever they want it, and generally hit a little right, hit a little left to, scare somebody on this side and scare somebody on this side and scare somebody on this side with a death, with a threat, with a bribe, with a illegal suppression. And that allows this thing. The best things the Republicans can do right now is go like, you don't have the votes. We're out of here. We got to check out on this guy. And everybody that had it except for Bolton gets out with a clean slate. Why am I separating Bolton out? Because he started calling it and he either withdrew or actually he can now say, no, what I really did was quit. And no matter what that guy says, what his words, and no matter spit, and Pompeo gets to go, and all of them get to do time or thereabouts.
right,
Or as Nixon experienced the rest of his life, censure. He can't say anything. He can't say anything about it. You left, you lost, you resigned. That means you lose your First Amendment right to comment on this in the future, or else you're going to jail. That's where this one lands. The people are going to want Trump to go to jail, but more people are going to want him to shut up.
For sure.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So if his only off ramp is censorship. That's only Trump's only off ramp is censorship, resign and censorship. That's his only off ramp at this moment.
Well, this whole situation, what's unfolding recently, really makes me respect Congressman Justin Amash even more, that he was not going to put little r Republican, or is it big R Republican? I don't know, in front of big A America.
That's right. Amash could run as a Republican right now. He could run.
Oh, he could clean up.
He could totally clean up. And you know who else is up there? Kasich is up there.
Yes, he is.
Those two guys are like they're like in the pole position.
Oh, that could be a ticket, Kasich Amash. Think about it, right?
Totally a ticket.
Where an anti-Trump ticket but the respect though is they're both putting America above party, and it's very disheartening.
Yes.
To see so many Republicans on this committee doing these impeachment hearings, see all their talking points and everything they've been talking about. Well, there was no quid pro quo. Well, there's an admitted quid pro quo. And, but the Ukrainians didn't know that the security assistance was held up until September. And then come to learn, no, they knew it in July. I mean, everything unraveling, and still they are going to defend the president and put Republican big R party over America and make it little a America. That is very disheartening to me. Personally, I'm just speaking for myself here, but
yeah, me too. I feel disheartened by that. Similar to Barr is doing the same thing. Very, very large R Republican. But see, his is interesting too, because he is actually not keeping his narrative in alignment with the rule of law. He's keeping his narrative in alignment with those liberals are doing XYZ to literally scare certain groups of Republicans that are sensitive and vulnerable to that messaging, that something terrible is coming. And it's the same something terrible is coming for that was promoted with Barack Obama, and something terrible is coming. And the answer is nothing terrible came.
Oh, well, the other one that comes to mind in this is, you remember Vice President Dick Cheney being interviewed in the run up to the 2004 election saying, well, the danger is if we don't make the right choice, we might get hit again. Do you remember that? And he made this, scaring America that if we don't reelect George W. Bush, there's going to be another 9/11. And even though he had to walk it back a little bit afterward, it was already out there.
It's already out there. It's when you're trying to purchase truth, you're actually going to use messaging that, and this is where this one really lands very solidly, Tom, is that when you're trying to purchase something, you're trying to align a message that is familiar to, comfortable with the belief structure that the person has populated in their brain. So if I want to create respect for Trump, here's an article that I would do. Here it comes.
Okay.
Trump has just signed a bill that has created more wilderness land in the last 10 years. Now, all of a sudden, if Trump did that, and I believe it's actually a real news article right now.
Wow.
The first 7 paragraphs are, this is what he did. This is the area that did this, right?
Okay.
The last paragraph, though, says he cut 31% of funding for the National Forest Service. Overall, 31% of funding. There's no way they could cover it support it, enact it, do anything with it. But it's like, oh, I hung this curtain rod and I put this curtain in, but we don't really quite have any way to keep it up right now. So it's not really going to stand very well. But if I want to purchase truth, I'm going to promote the thing, but also really not amplify the inability to execute what the thing I signed did. And yes, it was bipartisan. And yes, it started with something that the gal in Alaska wanted to do. And I'm guessing that if it was an Alaska thing, I'm guessing that there is a drilling provision in there. It would be my guess, but we'll have to wait to see. Oh, yes, it was this reclaiming of wilderness, but not this one section that we want to drill in. Whatever. So there's the way to purchase truth is, and by the way, anybody that's a Trump person will say, hey, but what about he did this? But it's not fully true. He did this, but it's an exclusion of the main thing that is going to cause the most damage. Just saying.
My goodness. Well, I know you're right. And, it does seem that candidates, both sides, congressmen on both sides, boy, could use more skill. I mean, the Democrats here are kind of lucky that the facts are somewhat on their side.
Yes.
And the Republicans, if they had more communication skill and awareness, could be making a much better argument than they are trying to support President Trump. And they're not doing that. It seems, Fox News is trying to do it for them.
Yeah, they're just trying to protect the big R and pretend that it's the big A. So, I mean, that's the thing. And I think that whether it's Buttigieg or Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders and or Andrew Yang that really gets the nomination, all of those folks have the ability to step into creating a message that's engaging. See, Tom, the what's missing is the engaging messaging that really they're not really aware of. Otherwise, somebody would be, really moving in the polls, and they don't really fully know how to craft an engaging message that allows them to anchor into long-term memory so that that voter starts listening to their message that says, oh, I'm more him or I'm more her.
Right.
And, and of course, Camilla Harris can use some, and Cory Booker could use some, because they're all good. All of them are good people, but their messaging regrettably is a bit all over the place. So
yeah, really it's not resonating yet. Well, it'll be interesting to talk more about that and, how that messaging could be improved. I don't know if we're going to be able to get there yet because there's more of this impeachment piece going on, but it'd be interesting next time maybe to actually role play a little bit with some of the messages, that the missed opportunities that both sides could use, how the Democrats could make their case stronger and how the Republicans could be much more effective in purchasing truth here in these impeachment hearings.
There were some great opportunities that the Republicans missed. They really could have prepared themselves way better. They had no idea how to handle a thing called worst case scenario. And if they would have been ready for worst case scenario with Sunland, I would have been able to craft a message for them to turn and spin it and still gain the protection and crafting a protective message for Trump that still would have been valuable. It still would have had some integrity to it. But because they got to protect their guy, and I get that, because it's their identity. They can't go there.
Yeah, like I was saying today, gosh, I wish more of them would be like Justin Amash and no longer try to defend this guy and, put Big A America first. But okay, That's unrealistic. Let's
It
put
is.
that aside.
Yes.
And next time we can talk about how they could have communicated more effectively.
Yeah, I agree. So, all right, this has been great, Tom. This is a good thing to work over, and looking forward to next time.
Yeah, I'm excited for next time. We'll do that. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.